Hi everybody. Today I'm here to talk about the risks of primary care physician diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's. If we're honest, none of us ever hopes or dreams of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. Similarly, none of us wants to be diagnosed with any serious illness. Cancer, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, heart disease, or anything that's going to significantly affect our lives. Fear of a memory loss diagnosis is significant. And it's why this diagnosis is so difficult for individuals with memory loss and family members to discuss and to plan around. Because it's not like you can look at somebody and say, oh, you have dementia or Alzheimer's, because the disease is really up here. It's not visible like somebody who has a health condition with physical signs. So somebody who has had a stroke may be paralyzed on one side of their body. Maybe they walk with a walker. So you can see some kind of physical issue there, that something is wrong. But people with memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, you could look at them and maybe you would never imagine anything is going on. In my experience as a care manager, a guardian, a conservator, a medical and financial power of attorney, over the past 25 years, obtaining a diagnosis of memory loss so that you can create a short and a long-term plan is so important. Yet I can tell you many older adults with memory loss refuse to talk about it. Some of their adult children may be in denial. Oh, there's nothing wrong with mom or dad. They're just a little forgetful. This is what happens with old age. And other people in the family may not want to know because they don't want to become involved. They don't want to become a caregiver. So this video is for people who are older, who suspect they have a little bit of memory loss, which can be called mild cognitive impairment before it turns into dementia or Alzheimer's, and you're not diagnosed. And also for people who are caring for loved ones who are interested in a care plan and want to know how to work through all of this to avoid potential unexpected crazy things that can happen. So in this video, as always, I'll offer some context, some background information to kind of set the scene for our discussion. And then I want to talk about primary care physician memory loss testing that most people don't understand about the importance of the testing and the person giving the test. So it could be a doctor, it could be a nurse practitioner, it could be a social worker, anybody who has one of these tests in their hands. Because many people think that they're qualified to give that test, but what they fail to consider, if they lack experience in geriatrics or dementia care or the legal system of guardianship, conservatorship, and power of attorney, they fail to consider the impact of those test numbers, whether it is the Folstein MMSE, the SLUMS, the MOCA, there are other tests out there. They don't consider the effect on the life of this older person. They're just looking at it like, well, it's a test, it's a diagnostic score, that's my lane here. But with memory loss crosses a lot of lanes. Crosses healthcare, crosses legal, it crosses financial, because the cost of care and the implications of the diagnosis on the ability of the person to care for themselves are significant. So, if this is your first time on my channel, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert with 25 years of professional experience helping older adults and their caregivers navigate the health, financial, legal aspects of caregiving, including all of the family complexities. And my qualifications on this topic is that I was a professional fiduciary, a care manager, and I am an expert witness and a consultant. And I was legally responsible for the health and welfare and life and financial well-being of many, many individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia and cognitive impairment. You can learn more about me on my website at PamelaDWilson.com. There's also links below this video. If you do find this video helpful, please like it, follow my channel, share the video, comment, even if it's only to say thank you. Your participation helps other people find their way here. So why don't we talk about Alzheimer's or dementia like we talk about mental health issues or heart disease or diabetes or cancer? Well, it's because Alzheimer's and dementia is this scary, unknown thing because it eventually causes significant issues with self-care and an individual's ability to continue to take care of themselves and live alone due to a lack of insight about safety. Am I safe doing this? Am I not safe doing this? And eventually, Alzheimer's or dementia can lead to a need for 24-hour care and supervision similar to what parents would do for a newborn baby. And that is, let's be honest, it's scary. The problem is many older adults who live alone by themselves with dementia, they fail to recognize these unintentional habits of self-neglect because they lack the cognitive ability up here to say, well, gosh, I am no longer able to organize and remember to take my medications. I'm forgetting to bathe. I'm forgetting to eat. I'm forgetting to change my clothes. My bills aren't getting paid. All these things I used to do, I'm not able to do, but because I have memory loss, I can't recognize that I'm not doing them. And so it usually takes a friend or an adult child or somebody else to recognize that, something just doesn't seem right here. Seems like you're forgetting to do things. Should we go get a diagnosis? The problem is, if there's nobody like that, and a person doesn't realize they have memory loss, they're probably not going to the doctor for their annual appointments. Or they're not going to say, hey doc, I think I'm forgetful. Can you do some memory testing? And this is why so many older adults have undiagnosed memory loss, and they work themselves into the adult protective system because of unintentional self-neglect. Now, a lot of these people, they are vulnerable. They're subject to risk from people in their lives who want power and control or who are predators and are interested in their money. These people can be family members. They can be friends. They can be outside of the family. They can be strangers. So let's now talk about this very simple memory testing that can be done in a primary care physician's office and at a Medicare Annual Wellness visit. And I want to talk about this from both sides. The risk to the person with memory loss taking the test and the risks to the person giving the test if it is not given appropriately. So the screening test, the names, Folstein MMSE, SLUMS, MOCA, there are a few other tests that are given. And the risk is that if the primary care physician or their staff, a nurse practitioner, a social worker, is not experienced in geriatric care or trained specifically to work with people with Alzheimer's and dementia, or if they've not participated in any type of training for these screening tests, or they don't pay the screening test fee if it's copyrighted, and if they fail to understand the legal impacts, which most healthcare practitioners do. When somebody scores low on one of these tests, that becomes a matter of record. And that test score can be used in determining whether a person is able to complete a financial power of attorney document, or whether a person needs guardianship or conservatorship because their memory loss is so advanced. These test scores are used in litigation. They're used in probate and chancery and family law court. And the healthcare system, because it's focused only on healthcare and not on like everything else that goes along with the dementia diagnosis, fails to recognize the impact of not making a diagnosis or making a diagnosis or making a correct diagnosis or helping people get a more accurate diagnosis. And so the problems with these tests is that, again, if a person's not trained, if they don't give it consistently. So I have taken my clients to doctor's offices and I've watched people give these tests. Some people give the older adult too much time. These tests should be timed like on a watch or on a clock. I have seen people help the person answer the questions. And a poorly given test result, oh my gosh, it can result in inaccurate test results, inaccurate conclusions about the ability of this person, about their cognition, about their decision-making abilities, about their ability to live alone. And sometimes these tests are given every 6 months. So imagine this, if this test is given every 6 months by a different person that brings in variables of background, were they trained, did they pay to give the test, if it's copyrighted, did they help the person with the test, what were the circumstances? If it's not given consistently by the same person, then the test scores can be all over the place. They could be up one time, down the next time, up one time, down the next time. Test scores matter, and they can tend to be looked at by healthcare providers in, again, this isolated world without an understanding of how it can impact a care plan and healthcare diagnosis and healthcare seeking assistance and financial costs of care and legal planning and everything else. So if you are a person, if you're a person working in the healthcare industry, if you're a person who thinks you have memory loss, if you are a loved one of somebody who you think has memory loss, when you go to get a diagnosis, really consider the background and the experience of one, the primary care physician. How many people with dementia do they work with? How much experience do they have with this? Should you go to a geriatrician or a neurologist or somebody else if they don't have the experience? And if somebody in a doctor's office is giving this test, ask them, what is their experience? Were they trained to give this test? Did they pay to get a copy of the test if it's copyrighted? How do they follow standard procedures to make sure that there's consistency when the test is given today and 6 months from now? Because, as I mentioned, so many healthcare providers lack insights into how significant this is for the person with memory loss. I mean, these tests are on a piece of paper. They can appear very simple. They can appear very easy to give, but all of these variables can significantly impact the person who is taking the test. So in a perfect world, if you have a primary care physician and you have this test and your score is kind of questionable, ask for a referral to a neurologist and a neuropsychologist so that you can see someone who has more experience with this type of diagnosis and more experience with this type of testing, so you can at least have a good baseline test by which to compare future tests. And it's okay for you to ask questions and say, well, how many of these do you give? How many of these are you ever involved in a legal proceeding with? What's your background? What's your experience? Did you pay for the test? Or are you taking copyrighted material and just giving the test out? And let me relate this to another example in real life, which may make this a little easier to understand. So this is going to be the Department of Motor Vehicles driver's exam. So in most states, we can get our license renewed like once without having to go in and physically, take a paper test or take an eye test or something. And so when I was guardian and power of attorney, I had a lot of older adults who either had to renew their driver's license or get an ID card because they no longer drive. So in the context of renewing a driver's license, I would take them to the DMV and let them go up to the desk. And I cannot tell you the number of people at the DMV who would try to help my clients pass the test. Now, this could have been the person at the DMV desk who said, oh, you flunked. take it again and again and again and again. I had one client who probably took the test 5 times. And then if they're taking the test, they might be standing next to somebody else who's taken the test. My clients would ask the person next to them, hey, I'm on number 12. What's your answer? And they would write down the test. So again, it's the who's giving the test. Is the test being given in isolation, or is the person taking the test asking other people for their answers so they can score better on the test? So I mean, as you can see, all of this test taking and test giving really should be done in a consistent manner so that the results are good, so that they're valuable, right? Because the risk here is that DMV is like, oh, I'll just pass them. They look fine to me, right? Because again, you can't tell by the way somebody looks most of the time if they have Alzheimer's or dementia. They look fine. I'll just pass them on the test. Well, that elderly person with dementia who has a driver's license is out there, and they forget like which pedal is the brake and which is the gas, and the left turn and the right turn signals, and which way is left or right, and they get into an accident. And not only do they harm themselves, they harm some innocent person. And I know that taking away a person's driver's license without offering them other transportation offices can be challenging and guilt-filled for family members. But the interest should be the safety of the person with dementia and other people that might be harmed through their action of driving. So when we look at the dementia tests, again, high level of responsibility by any healthcare provider who is doing this, rather than just saying, oh, I've given this 20-point test or this 30-point test multiple times, here we go again, let's just check off the list, get it done, put it in the file, and I'm going to forget about it. Well, that is not what should be done, which is why everybody, if you're the person with memory loss and you're participating in these tests, you ask questions about who's given you the test and their background, because this can have a long-term effect on you. If you're still driving, be open-minded enough to say, well, should I stop driving because my memory loss is getting worse? What I can tell you is any type of memory loss benefits from a very thorough diagnosis and care planning so that you know what you're working with. It's no different than somebody with heart disease or cancer who receives a diagnosis and they're presented with their options and they can choose how to care for themselves, take medications or not, how to proceed with their treatment. And it seems that the challenge is that because dementia and Alzheimer's are so complicated, they go beyond the healthcare system into a person's ability to live independently in their home and the choices that they make and the significant costs of eventual care and the legal aspects that we as a society just don't talk about this enough, and the healthcare system is not as sensitive to the outside impacts because, again, the healthcare system is siloed. They're just looking at healthcare. They're not looking at everything else, which is what a thorough care management assessment and a care management plan does. It looks at everything, and I've done hundreds of these for clients over the years. So if you're looking for more tips and support on the topic of memory loss, you can visit my website, PamelaDWilson.com. Lots of articles there, lots of videos here on my YouTube channel. On my website, there's a whole course about taking care of aging parents with a specific module on dementia. You can also contact me and schedule a one-on-one consultation. I'm happy to help you. I thank you all so much for being here. Please do click the like button on this video, follow my channel, share this channel with other people you know who are looking for proven and practical professional tips on caring for loved ones with dementia, Alzheimer's, or any related aging diseases. I thank you all so much for being here. I'll see you again soon in another video. I'm Pamela D. Wilson.